students find a good therapist? Like, what should they look for in a therapist?
That's a really good question. All therapists have different styles, different modes of therapy that they may use. And I think what's really important is making sure that whoever it is, people have to know that they have rights. So you don't have to utilize the first person that comes your way. So, really a therapist should be someone that you feel connection to, that you feel a comfort with. What many people will do is actually utilize, there's a site, Psychology Today, for instance, and they can actually locate profiles of therapists, that they can actually see what the therapist looks like and take a look at what their specialties are. There's also teletherapy. A lot of folks are really super busy, and I would be very happy to provide information to you for your viewers regarding teletherapy.
And also, can you describe or briefly talk about the stigma around just mental illness and mental health?
Yeah. Oh, one other thing before I go into that. It's also important to make sure that the person that you're talking to is licensed to provide the services.
Okay.
That's another important one. The stigma, yes. There's a lot of stigma around mental illness. People find it very difficult. And that, historically, mental illness was just not recognized as being valid in so many different cultures. And most people who had challenges would go to, if you went to family or if you went to your regular doctors or church, whatever it is, or you kept your business at home and you really didn't talk about it, and it was just a family issue and you all just dealt with it. So mental illness is one of those things that has just not been an okay thing historically, unfortunately, for so many different reasons, because of the fact that, most people don't want to be seen as quote unquote broken. And then, being concerned about what that may look like to other people. Right. And whether or not they're okay to be able to continue on life, in a way that they can be in control of themselves and that sort of thing. So, sometimes in certain positions and job titles, things like that, people are very reluctant to admitting if they have an emotional disturbance because it's not encouraged. That may impact whether or not they're able to continue, and it's unfortunate, but it's something that happens. So there's so many different reasons that there's stigma attached to it and that it continues. But, it's my hope, more and more I hear young people talking about mental health.
Yeah, I agree that a lot of people, like in my generation, are talking about it because that's how I've learned so much about it. And, we constantly have discussions about it in college. And it's gotten to the point where, I'll look up, there's so many videos on YouTube that describe, their personal experiences with them facing, mental illness and stuff like that. And, it's so good to learn about. It really is. And so I would advise people to, use social media to learn more about mental illness, even if you feel like you don't have it or anything. So what are some issues that can cause someone to have a mental breakdown?
There are so many different concerns. There's so many different concerns. Stress, persistent stress is probably one of the major reasons that, maybe somebody who already has a predisposition for a mental illness may end up developing one. But stress for anybody, brings about illness in general, whether it's mental or whether it's physical. And so stress would be the biggest factor.
Okay. So now, when you are talking to people with mental issues and and you're in therapy with them, how do you how do you how do you find time for yourself and like because that's a lot,
Decompress.
yeah, to decompress from that, and like what do you do for self-care, because that's a really important step in life. So like what do you do?
That is a great question, and I usually people ask me that all of the time, because people usually say to me, "How do you stay so calm?" Well, one of the things that is really important is, and I've learned as a therapist, is you do have to really manage your stress level really well, because you do. I work with a lot of people who have trauma concerns, and one of the things that you learn about as a therapist is to you don't take on any of the things
Right.
that your um, clients do, and all of these things, and we're human. So in reality, we do absorb that, particularly if you're very sensitive to emotions and things like that, with and whatever your approach is. So I happen to be one of those people. So I know that for me, I have to make sure that when we're talking about eating really well, that's one of the things that I do. So I try to make sure that I eat a really balanced diet. I try to get as much rest as possible.
Okay.
I also try to make sure that I am balancing my life well. So I try to do things that I enjoy doing, having fun. Like I love to do kickboxing.
Ooh.
So I do kickboxing. I love to do yoga.
Nice. I mean, personally, I find like scheduling like time for self-care extremely hard. I don't know if it's like, I don't know, in high school and like in college, like it's just always on the go, on the go. Like there was always like work due. So I'm like, okay, like I'll do something for myself like later, like once I get this done. And so yeah, I know it's like something a lot of like my friends and like students and like my classmates are dealing with, trying to find a way to fit it in, but also like get their work done, because like it's still important.
Yes.
So
yes,
I personally think it is hard, but I will get it eventually.
definitely. The more passionate, more driven you are, it's harder sometimes because you have so many different things on your plate. And I would always just say, try not to get to a point where you are just exhausted with it. Try not to get to that point, because that's when people start to get vulnerable with anxieties or depression, is when they're so exhausted, that they're so tired, they're so overwhelmed, that they've neglected themselves for so long. And sometimes it's difficult to see when you get to that point.
This was such a wonderful conversation.
Wonderful.
Well, before we end, do you have any last advice for the beauties? Just anything regarding mental health, self-care?
I would say, one of the most important things is just to remember that each individual is just so special, and life is so special, and their life is so special and valuable. And just to remember that you deserve to feel amazing, to feel good, to feel wonderful, and not to walk around feeling like the world is on your shoulders and just feeling such a heaviness that you can't enjoy your life. So I would say, for anybody that feels that way, to please talk to someone about it. You don't have to be really ill in order to talk to a therapist or reach out to talk to someone. A lot of times it's so much better to do it when it's not at that point,
right?
Because you're able to prevent that. So I would just say, remember that you're valued, and remember that you're worth it, and you deserve the best that life has to offer. And, in order to put your best foot forward with all of your whole self, you need to be able to feel that. You need to be able to feel good, and you need to be able to remember how amazing you really are.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. And affirmations work. If you tell yourself, repeating, like, I am a star. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am, anything.
Absolutely.
You will eventually believe it.
Absolutely. And doing that in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
Like, look at yourself when you're saying it. It's profound how it can really change and adjust the way that you're seeing yourself.
Thank you so, so much for chatting with me. I learned so much, and I'm sure you guys definitely did too. So I have a little gift for you, and you can open it.
Oh my. This is my favorite color.
Really?
Yes.
Purple?
Purple.
Me too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You did it. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my goodness.
So, it's a Girls with Beauty and Brain shirt.
I love it. Oh, I love it. I will be wearing it tomorrow.
Yes. So remember, beauties, that Madinah is a girl with beauty and brains, and so are you. Bye.